As I start my short-term rental Airbnb sort of journey, I had the opportunity of talking to an expert in this, and he was like, Stan, do you have a goal? What's your goal about this? And that was really one of the first questions he asked me. And, I kind of answered off the cuff because I really hadn't thought about it much. And of course, I said the typical cash flow or passive income and stuff like that, build wealth. But really, I started thinking about it after I got off the phone with him, and I started to realize really how important it is. In this video, I'll go through the framework of how I determine what my goal is and why it's so important. And then also, I'm gonna give you some ideas. If you haven't figured out precisely what your goal is yet, then I'm gonna help you figure that out. And then at the end of the video, I'm actually gonna talk about what my goals are with this short-term rental business. The way I kind of think about it is, even like with football, let's say. With football, maybe your long-term goal is to, as a team or as a person, win a Super Bowl for the year, right, in NFL. But, that's all fine and good. I find that you really, that's good. It's quantitative in nature, meaning that you put a number to it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I also feel like you need a short-term and a long-term goal. So for example, short-term goal for that scenario would be, hey, we got to win this game, right? You got to win games in order to get to the Super Bowl. But even kind of breaking it up further than that, more granular than that is, hey, in this particular game, I've got to make it 10 yards. For those of you who don't watch football, that's basically you get 10 yards, and if you don't make that first down in 10 yards, the other team gets the ball. So even thinking about it in that sort of analogy, it's really rewarding just getting 10 yards at a time, right? And I feel like we kind of need that feedback as opposed to this great big overarching goal that's way off in the future. I think we've got to think about a short-term goal and a long-term goal, maybe even a short, mid, and long. But it's just a way to sort of gauge where you're at and really get you excited about, hey, I'm making progress, right? So in the short-term rental, that might be something like, hey, I want to have 5 short-term rentals, that gross X amount per year, right? That could be basically your goal. And so, but breaking that down a little bit more is, hey, your first goal is getting your first property and getting, let's say, $2,000 a month cash flow. I think it's important and it's very rewarding, and that's the kind of stuff that keeps you juiced. It really keeps you going. So we're gonna go through the framework, but before we do, just a quick introduction. I'm Stanford Kennedy. This YouTube channel is all about me starting my real estate journey. I'm starting with short-term rentals, and we're gonna start this out, and we'll bring you guys along, whether you're experienced or new and you kind of want to ride along and see how this thing goes. I'm going to take you through every step of the way. Okay, here's some of the framework ideas that I had. Just some points to kind of consider when you start to develop what your goals are. First, when you start thinking about that goal, you got to really think about like what really motivates you, and so that goal should help fuel that motivation, because if you think about it, when things get rough and tough, those are the type of things when you're motivated and you're looking at the North Star, so to speak, that's going to be basically something to keep you centered, if you will, right? So knowing the goal when things get rough on the day-to-day sort of, day-to-day tactical things, you're getting ready to pull your hair out, you got a guest trying to request money back. Number 2, I think knowing your purpose and building a foundation, right? And we all know, whatever you build, whether it's physical or a business or whatever, it's all about establishing a base or a foundation, right, to build off of. Knowing what your goals are and what sort of mix of, long-term rentals versus short-term rentals versus whatever asset class you want to get into, you're going to want to know, hey, what kind of mortgages can I do to support this investment? What's your market location, right? All these things, the foundation really, I think, builds upon this, and really setting your goal supports that. Something else to consider is if you don't have a clear goal of where you want to be, right, and a path sort of laid out or a roadmap, at least loosely in your mind in terms of the roadmap, right? We can't figure this whole thing out. You got to be like, you got to be a little loose with this whole thing. But I'm just saying, if you really kind of know what your North Star is or where you're going to head to with this, it could help, it could help you along the way where you won't make the wrong turn. So for example, someone comes up to you and says, "Hey Stan, I've got this great investment. It only takes this amount of money and it's a major return on cash, blah, blah, blah." And so, maybe it's not in real estate and maybe it doesn't align with your goal. Now you may still, you can't turn down money. Maybe you still plan on doing that investment, but at least you have a framework or you have something to bounce that decision off of, right? And that's all I'm saying. The other thing is, I want to make sure that when you set your goal, whether it's short-term, mid-term, long-term, make sure that it's quantitative, right? In other words, put a number to it. Just don't say, "Hey, I want to be wealthy," or, "I want to retire early," or whatever it is. Say, "Hey, I want to have 1 million or 10 million or 50 million or 100 million, oh, however many million you want." Whatever that is, put a number to it. Make sure it's quantitative. Maybe it's retire early. I want to retire by the time I'm 55, right? Or maybe it's a cash flow thing. I want to make this amount per month or this amount per year. Make sure you make it quantitative in terms of putting a number to it, because I think that's really big. The other thing to think about where goals are, sometimes they take sacrifices, right? And so knowing what your goal is allows you sometimes to be able to plan better for that. So you may have to sacrifice. Maybe you have to drive an older car for a while before you get that Benz. Right? So whatever those sacrifices are, it's just going to help you align and bolster that goal even more. Okay, before I go through my goals, I wanted to kind of give you some ideas here, what some possible or some candidate goals for you. And a goal may be leave your job in X number of years. So for those people, maybe they hate their job, maybe they just want to get out of the grind, whatever that is, and they want to be financial free and not rely on somebody else for a paycheck. Like, that's huge, right? Some people are more entrepreneurial in nature, and so this type of business would be perfect for you as well. You may get to a point where you can't afford to keep your job and put the time in that you need to continue to build in your wealth and reach your goal. And that's where goals are really important again, right? You may find yourself where your job is actually holding you back, and maybe it's a 10x return if you go ahead and quit your job, right? So something to consider. But if you decide to quit your job, make sure you do the math, right? It's all total comp. That's just not your salary, right? You're probably going to do better in taxes and keep more of your money. But think about health insurance. Maybe it's just passive income. I want to make sure, and again, make it quantitative where you make X amount per month. Maybe it's per month or per year, right? So if you say, "Hey, I want to make $2,000 a month per short-term rental," let's say, that's a legitimate goal, right? That's great. Or you could actually do a year. I want to make 24,000 or 30,000. I want to make 30,000 a year per short-term rental. So that's an idea for you as well. It's all about, the cash flow aspect of it. Some of you want to be just wealthy. So you may say, "Hey, I want to be worth $5 million, right? That's, asset minus liabilities. When it's just all said and done, 5 million, 10 million, whatever that number is. For a lot of people, it could be just about establishing a certain wealth, right? And a wealth for you as you're living today in this world, but also, do you want to build generation wealth, right? How big do you have to get to be able to take care of your legacy? And that's huge. A lot of people work towards that as a goal as well. So something to consider there. Or maybe it's just X number of short-term rentals and X number of long-term rentals, right? You kind of have an idea what you want to do. Maybe the numbers will change and that sort of thing. But you're like, "Hey, in terms of like what I can handle, what I can manage, or kind of how I see myself, I want, 5 short-term rentals and 10 long-term rentals," right? Some people are thinking about retirement. Yeah. How much are you going to need for your retirement? And, you know, is this something you're going to continue through your retirement as well? Something to consider. And there's also, you know, with retirement, you know, there's inflation, there's medical, right? You never know what the medical situation is going to be like on the other end. And then the unknown tax rate, again, is something to consider. Okay, another goal you might want to do is maybe you're thinking about bigger things and, you know, some commercial type properties, or even maybe non-real estate type of opportunities. And real estate is really a way to sort of fund those. So maybe that's a goal as well, is to take that and invest in something either, you know, bigger in real estate, commercial property, or maybe even non-real estate related. So that may be your goal as well. Oh, hey, so let's go through what my goals are, okay? So I've kind of given you a framework or some things to think about when you're doing yours, and I've given you some ideas on how to build your goals. Now for this segment, I'm going to talk about what's Stanford's goals. All right, so my main thing is I want to build passive income or cash flow on a yearly basis, and I want to do that in terms of working my way towards retirement. That's really my ultimate goal, is to have income coming in at retirement. So for me, my first short-term goal is going to be get 2 short-term rentals, probably in the Smoky Mountain area, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, and then I want to build myself up from there and work myself up to, I want to get to about 10 properties altogether. So between now and maybe, let's say, you know, 7 years, I want to get to about 10 properties. That's kind of my goal, guys, is really, you know, on the next 7 to 10 years, I really want to build a nice sort of passive income for sort of the early 60s, for my early 60s. And that's really what's going to be driving me in this endeavor. Whatever your goal is, just remember to enjoy life along the way, the journey. You know, do something good for yourself along the way. You know, pay yourself back somehow, reward yourself during the way, make it fun, because life's short and you never know what's around the corner, right? All right, guys, see you on the next video.